Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm Tony Guerra, and I have a little bit of an interesting background in that I did go for a PhD in rhetoric and professional communication, or English and computers, if you really want to call it that. I ended up getting an online master's in human computer interaction, but I still have those graduate credits in English. And what I did as part of that was I taught for 2 years. I taught introductory English, and I had 24 students in each of two classes, and I taught 48 students, and those 48 students, I had 5 papers a semester, so we'll just round up to 50. So 300 papers a semester to grade. And what I wanted to do was make sure that I gave them great feedback so that they could improve on what they had done before and do even better on the next one, but really understand the expectations. So what I've done is I've created a rubric for the letter of intent. And if you want to send me your letter of intent, I'll give you a grade on it. If you want me to edit it, that's a whole different thing. I'll charge you the $75 for it. But for free, I'll look at it and grade it. And I think a big thing that you don't have is knowing where to even start. So just send the letter of intent to aaguerra@dmacc.edu, and I will give you a grade. But you can do it yourself, and I'm going to show you how to grade it or have someone else grade it if you don't want me looking at it. And for those of you that are not familiar with rubrics, when you have something that is very subjective, with math, if the answer is 15, then the answer is 15. It's either 15 or it's not. If it's, hydrogen is the answer, then hydrogen is it. Or if it's a beta blocker, it's a beta blocker. These are subject to multiple choice tests. But a letter of intent, you can't grade on multiple choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to show you how I would do it with a rubric. So this is what the letter of intent looks like, and I'll be switching over to Excel now. And you can see that I've got 7 categories: match, evidence, delivery. And these are the big 3 in terms of subjectively just looking at it and saying, do they really match with the site? Have they shown evidence that they have worked towards that match? And then what's their grammar look like, their organization look like, and so forth. Then the big 5. How is their clinical, research, teaching, leadership, and service experience? And is it advanced, intermediate, or novice? Okay. And when I look at this, I say, okay, well, this allows me to give points. But what is going to be surprising, and again, this is just a fictional way of doing it, every site's going to be different, or maybe every system is going to be different, but I put 50 points out of 200 for if they match well, because really, ultimately, you're going to hear over and over again, once you get to the interview, you're qualified, it's do you match? And then is that evidence there, and has it been presented properly? And if the answer is no, then, well, I feel like they match, but it's just such broad generalizations. They didn't really give me specifics. I just, it feels like they match, but I'm not sure. And then did they take the time to get proper grammar, everything edited perfectly? Is the delivery there? And I put, 50, 20, 10. This could be completely different for different site. And then I put, what their evidence in terms of clinical, research, teaching, leadership, and service. But the way this works is if I look at a potential candidate and I say, oh yeah, they're a clear match, then I take this and just make that green. And the evidence was there. I mean, we're an acute care rotation, and they are definitely acute care, but they didn't really have all of the APPEs and things like that. So there's some evidence that it's there, but not quite as much as I would like. The delivery was flawless. There are no mistakes on their LOI document. Read very well. Clinically, it didn't seem like they had as many as I expected for someone who's going to do acute care hospital, so I put intermediate. They had presented at ASHP, clearly have gone through the research process, and they actually did 2 projects, so we'll put advanced for that. We didn't really see any teaching experience, not even mentoring or teaching in undergraduate classes, so novice there. And then leadership, it looked like they were not the president or vice president, but they did have supporting roles in multiple organizations, so I'll put intermediate there. And then service. I actually didn't remember seeing anything for service, so I would put novice there. And the way that you grade it is you subtract. So this was some, so I would delete this, and then I would delete this for clinical because they're only intermediate. And then for teaching, I would delete this and this, leadership this, and service this and this. And what it does is it takes you, this is the ultimate score. I'll bold it to make it a little bit easier to see and maybe put it in yellow. But that's the ultimate score. And you can see that it went from 200 to 130, but it's a very quick way to do it. And then when I save it as a PDF, or I go to print as a PDF, you can see this is what it would look like. And what it also allows me to do is give notes. So I can say, okay, well, really wasn't sure about the evidence, only one acute care APPE. And then I'd go back and like, okay, well, teaching, did not see any teaching experience, wants to do cert. So that maybe we have a teaching certificate here. And then leadership, so treasurer, and we could say maybe they were the secretary of another organization, so not vice president or national. And then service was absent. And you can see I can do this in a few minutes. And this really gives me a good idea, of what this person is. And so I don't have to go back to the actual document. I can say, okay, well, these are my notes and what I thought about them. So we can go to candidate B and say, all right, well, this person is clearly not a match. They said they wanted an acute care and we are an AM care. They have some evidence, but it's kind of shaky. There were a lot of mistakes, and I'm not a grammar person, but, well, I am. But I'm just saying that person wasn't a grammar person. And then clinical, they just really didn't have much clinical experience. They did do a project, but it was at a regional. Didn't make it to the national level. Their teaching, I didn't see any teaching. Didn't see any leadership, but they spent significant time in the community and helping other people. And so where it matters is what kind of a site are you applying to. So if you're applying to a research intensive site, then this obviously is a poor match. But if you're applying to somewhere that serves the underserved, then this might be a great match. But you can see that they only got 30 points, where the other person got 130. And that's because this top one, if they're not a match, that's a 0. And in terms of what you're really looking to do, and with your letter of intent, is show evidence that you match. And then you can be very specific. Clinically, we match because. Research, we match because. Teaching, we match because. And you'll probably do 3 of these rather than 5. 5 might be a little bit overboard. But let's kind of go back to candidate A, and you can see that although they might have had experiences that were probably around the same as candidate B, they were a clear match. And because they felt they were a clear match, this one's going to go into the let's interview them pile, and then the other one would not. So again, if you want me to help you with your letters of intent, it's $75 for the residency season. I'll go over one full revision. When I say full revision, I mean we'll get one perfect. There'll be multiple revisions. And then I'll help you with 2 others so that you can kind of understand how you start to craft them as you move from your top choice to maybe your number 2 and number 3, and make sure that you continue to make it match, quite literally, their expectations.